Procrastination, as we all know, it's something like we put off a very important task or high priority task which we need to actually focus. This is exactly as procrastination is, like putting off high priority task for later implementation. Okay, and one thing why it is so serious, why we have to actually know more about procrastination is, it can diminish the quality of your work, and it can also put your own, the career, the promising career that you have for yourself. It can, you can easily put yourself off of it, and you can miss deadlines, and it can avoid people working with you. People may not love to associate with you for a collaboration or something, and it can even damage your reputation. Okay, so this is a main reason we wanted to talk more on this procrastination. And before I could go on to the details of it, I just wanted to give you some numbers or statistics about college students. Okay, so research says 85 to 95% of college students, they procrastinate. That's a huge number, right? 85 to 95. And 75 of them consider that they are procrastinators. And 50% indicate that, their procrastination had severely harmed them in their career. And another important point that I saw while reading through some research paper was, like, college students who procrastinate do also have unhealthy eating habits, sleep patterns, and exercise patterns. So somewhere procrastination is also affecting their lifestyle. And another important thing is, people who procrastinate do feel edgy. Somewhere like you're on the edge of it, always kind of living in anxiety, kind of restlessness. So these are all just an outline or the description of what procrastination is and how it is impacting college students especially. Most of the time what we think is, or we misuse words like laziness and procrastination. We always use it, we mix these words usually, but these two are completely different. So procrastination is not laziness or not neither a lack of discipline. Okay, let's see what procrastination is. I've made it in a very simple word so that you can take it and implement for your life. Let's see few commonly used words, that is laziness and procrastination. Let's understand what it is. Laziness means disinclination to work or make an effort in another sphere, or you don't want to work. Okay, this is about not working or not doing things or avoiding to make any effort by all means. So this is laziness. Okay, you really purposefully don't want to work. Okay, this is laziness. So if this is laziness, then what is procrastination? Procrastination means to intentionally delay the completion of a certain task, especially if it is a matter of an increased importance or urgency. So you have to clearly understand the difference. Laziness is you really don't bother that you're procrastinating. I mean, you're not doing particular things. But procrastination is something, there is an urge, there is an emergency that you have to complete, there is a deadline coming up, but intentionally you delay the completion of certain tasks. Okay, I think you can, now you're getting the real difference. And what I want you to do is just think for yourself and see whether you're lazy or procrastinating. Let's see the reasons. See, reasons for procrastination are very, very interesting, because many times we think it's, I lack discipline, it's a time management issue. I want to tell you, procrastination is not a time management issue, it's an emotional issue. I want you to get this right. It's not a kind of time management issue, because time management, though it comes into a part of its strategical, implementation, but it is not as such a time management issue. It's an emotional management issue, procrastination. Okay, so let's see each reasons. First, perfectionism. Many a time what happens is we want to do particular thing to its higher expected level, to the expectation of the staff or to the boss or whatever, whoever, so we want to achieve the highest level. And especially if you are a perfectionist, then you really wanted to catch up with the level that is expected. What happens exactly there is, here it is not that you lack motivation, you do have high motivation. Okay, so pay a little attention here. Here is the trick of procrastination. So in procrastination, especially with perfectionism, you don't lack motivation, you do have high motivation, but at the same time, parallelly, you also have fear of failure or fear of not achieving that expected perfectionism. Are you getting me? Kind of over-thriving. You want to give your best, but at the same time, you also have the fear of failure. So when these two overpowering forces meet each other, you get stuck. Have you heard, or you can even resonate with yourself that it's something like I've hit against a wall. Everything is closed. I don't know how to move on. You want to work, but you don't either sleep, but you don't even you don't have interest to work either. So there is a kind of two forces, equally powerful forces working, and you get stuck. And this stuck point is where people do procrastinate, because usually fear of failure overpowers the motivation to success. Because it says, see, you had 4 months and now it's just 2 months, and it's just, now you only have 2 weeks to present the thesis and you have to rush up. If you fail, that's it. So what you do, you rush yourself, do something, you give your minimal effort to it, or your quality is minimized there. Okay, so this is exactly what will happen to perfectionism. So there is a two equal forces: success, motivation to thrive, or motivation to be successful, or motivation to be perfect, okay, and fear of failure meeting each other. This can be one reason. Just check yourself. Are you into this? Next is decision paralysis. We all face this. Now that we are in this, time, we have so many options. You go to mall, you go to store, you go to, kind of a grocery store just to pick up something, chocolate. There's so many varieties of chocolate, and you don't know, you're left there with so many options. And likewise, even in your life, you have so many options which can give you the same dopamine rush, the same, pleasure inside you, like social media. You have, in social media, you have so many things like Facebook, WhatsApp, whatnot, Netflix. I think you can come up with so many things, gaming, a lot of them. What actually happens is, see, these are all there around you, and you are kind of left with a place where we are not able to make decisions. So procrastination, as I told you, first, it's a kind of personality oriented. It's a kind of the perfectionism that you have. The second thing about procrastination is it's a decision making problem. You don't know what to prioritize. You don't know what to give importance to. You will be very prepared to write a paper. You will sit down there for the paper, and a thought will pop up. Why don't I check my emails before I could start with my paper, so that I will not have any distractions? This is what you will tell to yourself. But the moment you get into email, you will be thoroughly checking your email for more than 45 or 50 minutes. Or you may end up scrolling your WhatsApp up and down and spend just 30 or 40 minutes just like that. You wouldn't have planned for it, but you know what? There are so many options around you, and you get a kind of, paralyzed. You don't know what to prioritize, and what happens within you is, which gives the dopamine rush. For example, if there is a WhatsApp notification comes up, the sound of the WhatsApp notification comes up. So immediate dopamine rush will be given to you if you attend to that text. If you go open the text and see, immediate there is a gratification, instant gratification happens. And so what happens? You decide, because your completely paralyzed, you don't know what to decide upon, you decide to choose that because there is a dopamine rush and not to your paper. Okay, so this is another reason why we procrastinate. Check for yourself. Do you have many options when you sit to work, or have you organized it? Basically, why do we have this decision paralysis? Because we have not prioritized, or we have not organized all the things, all the other distractions that we have around. I won't really call WhatsApp and other things as just a source of distraction, because it does have so much, it's helping us so much. But are we placing it in a right place so that it doesn't paralyze us when we make a decision in proceeding on a very important task? Next, poor planning. It's all continuation. It's all one, interconnected. Poor planning, we all know this. The trick here is that the longer you procrastinate, the more overwhelming the task will feel. Okay. After a short while, a procrastinator has to pay for the postponing with increased stress, guilt, and low productivity. Okay, you could see this picture, like I'm not a procrastinator, but see what he's saying. I just prefer doing all my work in a deadline-induced panic. So we justify personality, and you know what? Only then I get a day before I get all these brilliant thoughts, and I can really put them to my paper, and I really do well a day before. If I could sit a day before, no. Actually, you are giving excuses for your own self. Okay, so poor planning can be a reason for procrastination. So the trick here you have to understand is, usually there is two things that is operating within you: present self and the future self. So future self will have long-term gratification. Maybe if you start working for your paper, for your assignment, 3 or 4 days before the deadline, or in a very safe time, then definitely your paper is going to come out very well. That is in future. But there is another self in you, that is your present self, which needs gratification right away. So what you choose, you'll say, you know what, I need to be really fresh. I need to be really, my mood should be relaxed. So let me watch a movie, take rest today. Tomorrow morning, sharp, I will get up at 6 o'clock. I do this. See, from tomorrow, but the tomorrow dawns and you again don't have anything right away there to proceed. So what happens? The same cycle, and you end up with just 24 hours left before your assignment. I think you can all resonate with what I'm saying. We all have gone through this phase, right? So procrastination is basically because of one another reason. Okay, it is not the altogether. This is not the reason, but it is one of the reasons. Poor planning. And next, very important, is self-protection. See, there's a beautiful theory, self-worth theory. What they say is, many a times we procrastinate because somewhere we do have a sense of worth, okay, by what we do. So if we lack our identity, or if we have our worth based on what we do, then we procrastinate. How? Let me explain you. Actually, your self-worth should not be relying on what you do, instead who you are. But many times, see, this formula, this picture that I've shown you is not the right way of having sense-worth, but this is what has been, believed by majority of the people. They think, if I get A's, if I do this, then that gives the worth for myself. No. So how this is tricking people to have procrastination is, when you are, let's take assignment. Imagine that you have sat down, especially when the task demands a lot of priority and the effort that is required is more, then naturally, if you feel that you're not able or capable enough to do or get to the level of that achievement, what you do is, comparing to the level of the performance or the quality required in the assignment, you procrastinate. Because when you get just C in the marks, or C grade in the mark, you have something to justify, you have something to self-protect, because here the main reason for your self-worth is your achievement. Okay, when your grade turns up and you get C, you have a valid reason to tell that, you know what, I just worked one day. It was just on Thursday I sat down, and you know what, I didn't expect even this, but I got it. So somewhere you are justifying yourself and protecting your self-worth. If at all the grade turns out to be B or A, then again you have another good reason, say, I think I'm more brilliant than what I thought. I just worked a day before and I got this, and that picks up as a habit again. Okay, so procrastination can happen if you have set your self-worth on what you do. Okay, so it is a kind of unhealthy pattern of setting or defining your self-worth. Okay, it's not about your ability or your performance that is defining your self-worth. It is about who you are. Okay, so just to protect yourself, indirectly you procrastinate from 4 months to 3 months to 2 months to 1 month and 1 week, and now just you have 2 days and you sit down, you finish, and you have a valid reason to protect yourself to the society. Just to everyone who asks, if a teacher asks you or your friend asks you or your parents ask you, why have you scored this much, you have a valid reason. You know what, mommy, I just sat down for a day before and I did this. So you have protected yourself, and thereby somewhere you believe that your sense of worth, your worth is sustained. You're protected yourself. Okay, so these are a few reasons why we procrastinate. I want you all to just, reason out for yourself where exactly you are. Are you really working on, lynching yourself on the self-worth by procrastinating? Or you are a perfectionist? Or do you have poor planning? Okay, just think for yourself. Next comes our signs of procrastination. I really want you all to understand this because, as I told you before, procrastination is not about time management. It's not something, purely habit. Of course, habitual part is involved in it, but it is not purely habitual, okay? So you need to really understand, because most of the time you can come out of a problem just by knowing. Awareness can solve a lot of problems. Lack of knowledge is the main step for destruction. So in another sense, if you get knowledge, that itself can, take you to the step of overcoming this procrastination, okay? What is the science that is, or let me put it this way, what actually happens inside your brain as you're procrastinating? There is a conflict within your brain between limbic system, that is, kind of unconscious brain, or a pleasure center, we can call it as, and to the prefrontal cortex. See, these two people, let's take it as a dialogue between two people inside your brain, okay? So here comes prefrontal cortex. As you all know, if you have attended the previous webinars, by now you know these words. So prefrontal cortex is a kind of an executing body. It plans, it works, okay? So this prefrontal region tells you, come on, you just have, the assignment is due in 1 month. Why don't you start planning the structure? So your prefrontal cortex will give you this idea. Immediately, there comes limbic system and says, you know what, 30 days for this paper? I think I can finish it within 15 days. Because all that limbic system wants is pleasure or reward. In this argument, you all know the answer. Who wins? Limbic system wins. Pleasure center wins, because this limbic system chooses something which gives you instant reward. For example, watching a movie, definitely it relieves, or calling up your friend, or scrolling through the WhatsApp. You know what? Minute little things that you do determines how much you procrastinate. I read in a paper, where it said, by the first step that you take in the morning, you can determine whether a person is a procrastinator or not. As I read through the paper, it said that when a person gets out of the bed, if the person is picking the phone, then the person is a procrastinator. This is what it said in the paper, and it was so, no doubt in it, right? Because the moment a person gets out, if a person could accomplish something, small little work, I think you would have read, or you would have heard the speech by making your bed. It's a very good book and a very good speech also. You can always listen to that speech in later, where when you get up, if you could just make your bed or fold your blanket, your brain gets reward, instant reward. a sense of accomplishment. That sense of accomplishment is what will keep you accomplish another thing followed by it. But usually where we fail is, as we start the day, we start with something which is not productive, or which is not in the list of your priority. For example, if you have prioritized to start your assignment today, this morning around 6:30 in the morning, and you have kept alarm at 6 o'clock, and you want to get up, refreshing yourself, have a cup of coffee and start your work at 6:30. But the moment you get up, the alarm goes, and you get up and you pick the phone, already you have shattered the plan for the day. Are you getting me? Because there was one research that was conducted with rats, where they said, what the experiment was like this. They gave dopamine shots for the rat to pull a knob. Okay, every time the rat pulled the knob, dopamine shot was given, and this dopamine shot kept the rat pulling the knob, and they presented food for the rat. The rat didn't stop to eat. They gave other things like cheese and other different distractions. You know what? The rat didn't stop to do any of those, but rather just pulled the knob until it became tired. So what they concluded was, because of the dopamine shot, because of the dopamine surge that it got, it kept doing something which is not at all necessary, or in other words, which is unhealthy for itself. It couldn't prioritize, it could plan, it could not, have control over itself. So that's exactly what happens when we just involve this limbic brain, plays that trick. It always wants to play. It always wants to have pleasure. Okay, so it gives little dopamine shots whenever you hold on to distractions around. Just watching one episode of the serial. Let me just finish one episode today and I'll move on. You know what? You'll end up watching at least 3 or 4, and 3 hours straight gone, because the dopamine's urge, though the task that is in front of you is important, still you intentionally sit here. Okay, this is exactly what happens in your brain as we procrastinate. See, you have to remember, procrastination is putting aside something which needs your attention, an emergency, or very important in the list, and you will be doing what is least important in the list. Okay, so this happens exactly because of the conversation or the dialogue that happens in your brain between this limbic and the prefrontal cortex. This limbic brain is kind of a primitive brain. It wins all the time, most of the time, unless you're strong enough, and we'll see the steps. Okay, otherwise prefrontal always fails, majority time, most of the time. So now, as all this happens, there comes the deadline. Okay, so now the limbic system says, 30 days is too much, so let me just finish it with 10 days. Again, prefrontal cortex will remind you, see, it's just 10 days now. You don't have too many days to work on. Again, limbic system wins. So finally, now the deadline is in just 2 days. Now comes the alarm, the amygdala part of the brain. It gives you the alarm. It terrifies you. That's when there is an adrenal rush. And you sit down, you get all these wild ideas, and you quickly write that 90 pages paper within 2 days, and you somewhere feel proud about it, and you feel somewhere happy about it. But actually, if you look to the paper, the quality wouldn't have been the best and compared to what you have given before. Most of the college students, they decline. When the graph was charted, as they start procrastinating, the quality has declined. Okay, so this is exactly what the science is. So now you know to vote for which group. Should we vote for prefrontal or for the limbic? Somewhere you have to go by the decision of the prefrontal. And now let's understand what is the cycle of procrastination. Okay, why we keep doing what we know? Because each time you get low grades, you decide, right? Next time, see, I'm going to challenge. I'm going to come out of it. But you know what? You don't. We fail. We do the same thing because there's a cycle that is going on. What is the cycle? Let's see. So let's take there's a task, there is a goal to be achieved. Let's again take it as an assignment or a paper to be presented. Okay, so there's a paper assignment there, and now comes unhelpful rules, assumptions, gets activated. What are they? Need to be in charge. This is exactly for the perfectionist. perfection thing, and perfectionists, they think everything should be perfect and they have to be control over it. If they feel that they are not going to present the best to it, then they withdraw, and all these things need to be in charge. Pleasure seeking, fear of failure, disapproval, fear of uncertainty, low self-confidence, all these unhelpful rules and assumptions gets activated. Okay, when that gets activated, there is a kind of discomfort. Hope you all can resonate. Just feel for yourself what you're doing. Okay, as I'm sharing this, just think this is exactly what's happening with us all. Okay, so discomfort driven. So there's a kind of discomfort that happens. Okay, we detect the discomfort from the task, because we'll have some assumptions about task, and then there is a feeling of discomfort, urge to dodge the discomfort builds. Okay, how shall we come out of it? You'll start with excuses, you'll come up with so many things, and now this is when you try to put other low priority things in the the top of the list. Because you come up with excuses, you'll say, you know what, I'm really not feeling good, I don't feel like working, I don't feel like doing, all these kind of feelings will pop up here. So you will have excuses. Actually, you know what, this is a conversation that you're making to yourself. Actually, procrastination is you are harming yourself, or something like, you are drinking the poison, something like you're destroying, and you're giving excuses for yourself. Whom are you satisfying? Yourself. Whom are you hurting? Yourself. Okay, so now followed by it is the procrastination activities. For example, you feel like, I'm tired, I feel like my brain is not cool down, it's like kind of burnt out, so I just want to take some relaxation. So procrastination activities follows, like you go out or you do something, and now comes the consequence. After the procrastination activity, what happens is you may end up with short of time, and you would have hurried and brought in some returned a paper and submitted a paper, and now comes the grade, the consequence. And you know what? Teacher may call you and say, you know what? I didn't expect this from you. You can do much better, and you yourself will know it. You can, think for yourself, this is not my paper at all. I can do much more. I could have given the best. Why didn't I do? All the regret, guilty feeling, all the condemnation, self-condemnation, all, everything pops up. This is where the consequence of positive and negative will come in. Okay, so once it pitches in, there is a guilt, okay, everything. And this guilt, what happens is, will tend you to procrastinate again. Because in procrastination, what happens is, the loop of learning from the failure is offline, because prefrontal is not winning the game. If prefrontal, at this juncture, if someone picks up the point and votes for prefrontal region of the brain and decides to work on from the next time onwards, they are breaking the chain. But most of the time it doesn't happen, because again, even at this point, people get into a mode of not forgiving themselves. So what happens? The cycle continues. So this is exactly what will happen with you and me. If at all, if the consequence is going to be positive, that you got straight A's, then you think you are the smartest. With 2 days, I'm giving my best and I'm getting A's, that's it. That becomes your habit, and you define yourself, I always, new thoughts comes into my mind when the last, when the panic rush comes in, all these statements you give about yourself and you define yourself. Okay, so again, procrastination continues. So this is the cycle of procrastination each one of us go through. So definitely you all know, if we have to come out of something, we have to break the chain. So we have to break either at the first level, okay, to have helpful rules, or you have to get to the next thing. Even if unhelpful rules have come in, you have to fight against the feelings and take up a step against your own feelings, or you have to break the chain here in the procrastination activities by planning, having strategies, having, prioritizing. So let's see how we can come out of procrastination. Very interesting. See, one thing I wanted to tell you all is, we all gathered here because we all have an intention that we want to come out of procrastination. Because most of us would have felt the pain of procrastinating. We all know. Maybe we wouldn't have accepted before people. You would have justified yourself smartly all this while, but heart to heart, you know that you have been procrastinating, and you know whatever that you are doing, or your performance is not up to the level or to your ability. You know that you're not thriving to your potential. You're not thriving to the excellence that you can give. We all know it. And you also, agree within yourself that if given some more time, if invested some more energy on it, I could have, got maybe got into this internship or got placed in this, or I would have got straight A's or whatever. We all know this. We all know it heart to heart, though we may, not show it outside, right? So let's see. See, whatever step that I'm going to tell you today, these are research proven, and it works. Okay, you can take it and you can implement it in your life. And this is a good news about anything that happens with our mind. The good news is we can change it. Needs focus, needs hard work, time, but things will change. Okay, so first thing is metacognition. We all know what metacognition is all about. Metacognition is thinking about our own thought process. So now that you have understood about what is going on inside your brain during procrastination and the reasons why you procrastinate, like for example, perfectionism or self-defense or poor planning or whatever, now that you know the reason and the clear definition between laziness and procrastination, you have to start to think about your own thinking. Develop awareness about your own thoughts. So as I told you before, being aware of what's happening in your thought process, in itself completes 60% of the work. Just being aware of the thoughts that is happening in your brain, thinking about your own thought process. Just being aware that, yes, I am now procrastinating. Just by picking up this step, I am procrastinating. Just being aware of the process that is going on inside. Just being aware of the dialogue that is happening within your brain, between the frontal and the limbic system, and just understanding that I am given the dopamine shot by doing this. Being aware, very, very important, very crucial. See, when you sit for the paper and you get everything set on your table and you're sitting down now, and the moment you start to type, one thought comes to your brain: why don't I grab a cup of coffee? Or why don't I make a simple call to my friend? That exactly, if you're aware that you're procrastinating, you will stop doing it. Okay, so that is the step of procrastination. So if you're aware, that step of picking up a coffee before even I could start with the project that I've intended to start, if you're aware of it, you can stop doing it. Or you can tell yourself, yes, I will grab a coffee maybe after completing 500 words, or maybe after completing 1000 words. Okay, so this is all about metacognition, developing awareness. Next is emotional regulation. As I told you before, procrastination is not just a time management issue, it's an emotional issue that needs to be regulated. You have to manage your emotions for it. You need to understand, emotional regulation, in other words, to find meaning of what you're doing. Most of the time, we don't have meaning for what we do. When we write a paper, we think, it's another load, it's another assignment, I need to finish it off. No, you should make meaning out of it. As I'm writing this, what am I getting? When you make meaning, that will give a dopamine rush to you, and which will keep you doing. Okay, that feeling of discomfort will be, discarded only if you have this emotional regulation. Hope you're understanding. So many of the time, our excuse for procrastination is, I don't feel like doing, my mood is not good now, I'm kind of irritated. All these things, I want you to work on those areas. Because already I think we have dealt on emotional intelligence. If you want, you can go back to the videos we have put up in the YouTube channel. So you can go back and listen to all those things. See where you have to rationalize your emotions. This is exactly what you have to do in emotional regulation. Again, let me pick up the same example. When you have decided to write up a paper and you're sitting down and there comes a feeling of discomfort. There comes a feeling of, kind of a tiredness, immediately try to rationalize, why am I feeling this? Pick up the reason. Why? Is it because my paper is, the task is overwhelming me? Or is it my task is disorganized? Or is it because I'm a perfectionist? Just question, rationalize your feeling. Settle down. Most of the time people slip here. When it comes to feeling, they are given up. Limbic system wins and you procrastinate. People don't dare to challenge their own feeling. But I would encourage you, students, please, you can challenge your feelings if it is not rationalized. Ask why for your feeling. Why is it I'm not interested in it? You may have some excuses. Remember the cycle? You may have some procrastination excuses. I'm not talking about it. Give a valid rationale based on your future goals. Okay. Next is self-forgiveness. Very interesting. This is, most of us fail in this because each time we fail, as we saw in the cycle, when we hit a consequence, if it is negative, you have guilty feeling, you have shame, you have this, kind of self-condemnation, all these things, and you don't forgive yourself. What happens? This guilt is what will keep the cycle going. This guilt will start defining yourself, saying, you cannot finish such paper. You worth only C or B, not A's. You know what? In this college, people who get A's are, they came from that background, or they do have this, but you cannot. All these excuses, all these thoughts, and the procrastination cycle continues. I would encourage you all, please do start forgiving yourself. All this while you missed it, yes. Let not guilt or, that failure that you had hold you on to the procrastination cycle anymore. Then just admit for yourself, yes, I did mistake. I failed, I could have got better marks, I could have worked a little longer, all these things is fine, but now I'm forgiving myself. That's okay. I'm admitting, I'm accepting the consequences that has happened by my behavior. Just try to accept what has happened. Don't be irritated, don't be tired of yourself. Many times you are tired of yourself because of this guilt. You're tired of yourself, that is when you hit the boredom. Nothing is exciting you because you kind of hate yourself in this process. Many students got stuck here. Many students who come and talk to me, they say, Mom, I hate myself. I think I cannot do anymore. I cannot do anything better. No, start forgiving. It's time that you have to start forgiving yourself. Next, strategies. What are the strategies that you can take? So after you finish all these things, okay, after you think about your process, after you have regulated your emotions, after that you're forgiving yourself, now focus on the strategies. Many times what happens? They skip all the first 3 stages and they get into strategies. They try writing timetable. Hope you all can resonate this. You all would have written timetable. Morning 6 to 7:30 or 31st April, I'll finish this. 1st May, I will do this. All would have made timetables. And how many times have we prioritized and done it? Maybe few of you, but not many. Because we fail in the first 3 stages. We don't do first 3. Always go by the stages. It may take some time, it may take some hard work because challenging emotion, it's difficult. So we try to, delete that stage. Let's just delete this. Let's move on. No, you cannot move on. You cannot move on. You will stay back there in procrastination. Okay, so please do take keen attention in following the steps. Let it take time, no problem. You are coming out of it. It's a process. It's not an instant thing. It's a process. Okay, so in strategies, first of all, you have to know the consequences. You have to tell yourself that if you're not doing this at this time, this is the consequence. I want you to write down the consequences of any project that is there in front of you. If you finish it on time, what is the consequence? If you don't, what is the consequence? And in the process of identifying the consequence, also identify if fear is holding you back. As I told you, for perfectionist, it's a struggle between the success and the fear of failure. Okay, so check on that. Is it that motivation or the fear of failure? What is that? Which is winning? So you have to check here, know the consequences. Okay, and also have a vision. Very, very important, very crucial. Many a times we do procrastinate because we don't have vision for our own life. We don't have goal. We don't have a set target where we have to go. Just blindly we are moving on. So that's why laziness pitches in. because you don't bother what happens. Or otherwise, you may have a very vague vision, then you procrastinate. Okay, so as you know the consequences will be valid only you have a right vision. You know, there is a Japanese saying like this: vision without action is a daydream. Action without vision is a nightmare. Okay, so very interesting, right? So if you don't have a vision, you will not have any consequences for what you're doing right now. So exactly what we're doing is we are trying to look for long-term gratification rather than instant gratification. Setting up the vision right is very, very important. And only if we have vision, we can also know the consequences. If I'm not doing this paper right now, then what will be the consequence and how that will affect my vision. Okay. Next is prioritizing. So basically, if you see in procrastination, we do put low priority things first. Okay. And the top priority things go to the last. That's where every chaos happens. So I would encourage you to revisit your priority list. Put all the low priority things down. See, low priority things can give instant gratification. Okay, so give gratification for yourself, give reward to yourself. I'm not saying that you should not give reward to yourself. Plan accordingly, prioritize. Maybe you tell for yourself, let me finish 2 pages and then let me have a break for 10 minutes and stick to the time, and that 10 minutes can trip you. Okay, if you're not planned, if you're not prioritized well, that 10 minutes will take you to 1 or 2 hours even, or even a day. Okay, so it's all about setting a conversation within yourself. Okay, the third one is visualizing the plan. So if you have planned for tomorrow, before you could go to bed, just visualize it. Close your eyes and just visualize what you're going to do in the morning. So what happens is you are training your brain or telling your brain that these are the things that's going to happen. So somewhere your brain feels the first-hand experience, and when we do it tomorrow, it's a kind of, the brain has a past experience. Okay, so visualize the plan. This is how I'm going to do it. So you need to have a very concrete plan for yourself for the next day. And the very, very important thing finally is don't give up, because many a time this is where you end up. For example, if you are taking a math test, you are working out on a problem and you get stuck and you are not getting the answer. That is exactly when people procrastinate. They say, maybe I have to take some rest to get this answer. So that rest takes longer. Okay, whenever you hit a roadblock in your decision, whenever you hit a roadblock in whatever that you're doing, please don't give up or try to procrastinate. Instead, give little more, a push to yourself. This is very crucial, because don't give up has become a very common cliche. Everyone says this, but you know what? It is very, very relevant when it comes to handling procrastination. In handling procrastination, one big mantra is, the one thing that you have to keep in mind is don't give up. Tell to yourself, yes, I'm at the verge of giving up, but I am not going to. Encourage yourself. Many times you may not have someone from outside to encourage you at this stage, but encourage yourself. Just keep pushing on yourself and come out. Okay, but this you can do only if you have thought about your thought process, the first step, and next handled your emotions well, then you have forgiven yourself, and then you have strategies. Many times we don't have all these things, but still push yourself. Where are you pushing yourself? You don't know. Okay, so pushing yourself or giving a hard push to yourself, this is don't give up strategy, comes last. Let this not be in your first priority. Okay, so with this, I've come to the end of the session.